Let's get down to it. So, what I'm going to talk about are pitfalls that even the most powerful, most well-trained and committed leaders fall into. And I'm going to kind of reverse engineer this. I'm going to go back a little bit. So phone call came in. Thought I had my do not disturb on, and there we go. Sorry about the blackout on the video there. Okay, so the pitfalls that even the most trained, most committed, most senior, inspired, powerful leaders fall into. And so you can train for years and years and years and be super committed and have all kind of results and outcomes and a fantastic reputation and everything. And still, this is definitely pertains to you. I've worked around many very powerful leaders who are very experienced and who absolutely fell into this pitfall. So I'm going to say, I'll make all that clear in just a moment. But I want to go to a distinction, and then we'll kind of tie this all together. So the distinction, by the way, I'll just kind of define things as I go along. Let's call that like a creation in language, like a construction in words, let's say. So designed to leave somebody with something, like a new world or a new experience of something. So I want to talk about energy stealing. From leadership to energy stealing. That was pretty dynamic. So sometimes we're not feeling powerful. Sometimes we're tired, we're fatigued, we're stressed, we're under duress, we're distracted, we've got more to do than we can get to, things are happening quicker than we want or slower than we want, or all that kind of stuff, right? So even if you're a happy person or a powerful person or someone who, I don't know, has life dialed in, you know who you are, you know what you're about, you're creating a life that's powerful for you and joyful, and yet even you will have bad days or bad moments, a reaction to something. And so what I'm going to be speaking of is what happens in those moments when you're not feeling powerful. So I'm not talking about the moments when you are feeling powerful. When you're feeling powerful and you're in the zone and everything you touch turns to gold, stay with that. Don't listen to me. And then if there are moments when you're not feeling powerful, this is what to listen to me about tonight. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. That very specific, could be a few minutes a week, a couple minutes a day, when you talk to this person, when you're in that situation, whatever it is, right? So when you're not feeling powerful, here's what happens. People, human beings, get frantic about having enough energy. So just bear with me for a minute. And human beings engage in energy stealing strategies. Let me just give you the example of what I mean. So there's 4 primary energy stealing strategies. And just notice if you've experienced this coming at you, or if this might be you coming at other people. So again, it's when you're not feeling strong. It's when you're not doing well. You're under duress. You're under stress or whatever. So here are the 4 strategies. The intimidator, right? The person who makes you dance to their tune by being intimidating. If you don't behave correctly, if you don't say the right thing, if you don't perform, they get angry and loud, and that's the intimidator. And as soon as they get angry or loud or big or intimidating, you start. So as soon as the intimidator starts getting intimidating, you start dancing, right? I apologize, I'll do better. The shuck and jive that comes with, you're trying to deal with someone who's in your face, getting angry, you're trying to calm them down, and you're dancing to their tune, right? That's the intimidator. Next is the interrogator, right? That's the person that has a question for you. Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you remember it? Did you do it that way? How'd you do that? They ask a question. You answer the question. The answer is the wrong answer, by the way, every time. The answer is the wrong answer. And then, boom, they let you know. And then, you're dancing to their tune again. You're dancing. Oh, I'll get that right next time. I got it. So that's the interrogator. They steal your energy. They make you dance for them by asking you the question, which seems innocent enough upon being asked. You answer the question, boom, wrong answer, off to the races. That's the interrogator. The next one is the victim, right? You, oh my gosh, I hope you did what I asked, because, everything's going to fall apart. Everything's going to be terrible if you don't. Like, they're the ones who are like, if you don't do what they ask, just some horrible thing's going to happen. And it's always like, they need you to do this and they need you to do that and to agree with them and da 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 da. That's the victim, and you want to like take care of them. Oh my gosh, absolutely, I'll take care of that for you, right? And you start dancing to their tune because they're a victim and they are helpless and they need you in some way, right? That's the victim. And the next one is the aloof. This is the person that's too cool for school, and they don't even look at you. They don't address you. They don't ask you a question. They don't intimidate you. They're not being a victim. They don't even see you. And they make you dance by trying to get their attention. Hey, here I am. I did that thing for you. That thing you asked for, I did it. And there you are dancing again, right? You're giving them your energy. So again, these are the 4 energy stealing strategies. And everybody falls prey to this when you're not feeling good, right? Now, some people do it all the time. Some people are never feeling good. They never feel powerful. And they're always intimidating or interrogating or victiming or aloofing, excuse the stretch of the English language there. So, so this is you when you're not well, when you're not strong, you're not feeling it, you're under duress, you're embattled, you're tired, you're fatigued, you're anxious, you're stressed, whatever it is. Now, why am I talking about this in context of leadership? Because even the most powerful leader, the person with the hugest accountability, thousands of people reporting to them, or hundreds or tens, or, your family, the people who are most important to you in the world, right? Whatever it is, no matter how committed you are, no matter how well trained you are, no matter how disciplined you are, all of that goes out the window when you're not feeling good, when you're feeling stressed and anxious and duress and all that kind of stuff, right? And even you can fall prey to these energy stealing strategies. And here's why I bring it up. I've had the pleasure and displeasure of working with lots of leaders. And I've worked with some of the most powerful, most trained, most subtle, deep, everything, just amazing leaders, right? And some of them are just, when they go bad, and, by bad, I mean, off their game, unconscious, lazy, distracted, under duress, whatever it is, right? It's terrible being around them. The more powerful and trained someone is, when they start becoming the intimidator, it's rough. When they become the interrogator, it's deep. When they become the victim, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. When they become the aloof, you can't reach them. It's like somebody who's not a big, powerful leader times 10. That's what the impact is. So now, let's say you have a team of 100 people, right? And you're under duress. And you intimidate. You become the bully. You start yelling at somebody. Or you become the interrogator. You ask them an innocent question. They give you a beautiful answer. And you just cut them up. And, or the victim or the aloof, that destroys what you've built in terms of who you are for your team. Right? We've all experienced terrible leaders, terrible managers. We've all been intimidated and bullied. We've all been interrogated. It feels terrible. We've all been with a victim, and oh my gosh, everything is about them, and oh, poor them, and whatever. We've all been managed or been led by the aloof person. It's just awful. It's awful. And you can't wait to get out there, get out of there. Studies have shown that people are most courageous when they're the most safe. So if you want your team to be bold and courageous and audacious and tackling their objectives and getting after it and, got some game and some swagger and some world classness to them, you can't do any of this. You can never be the bully. You can never be the interrogator. You can never be the victim. And you can never be aloof with them. Because given we've all experienced so much of this terrible leadership and terrible management, we're like hair trigger, right? Somebody shows up as a great leader and we're looking automatically for congruency, right? Someone shows up with a big word and big leader, and they're really taking a big stand on something, and you're just waiting for them, not you specifically, but people, right, are just waiting for them to show their true colors, right? Most leaders and most managers are just as clueless as the rest of us, pretending they know something, right? Or using their authoritative power to, get their jollies off, right? We've all seen it 100 times. And then every now and then you come across a leader who's the real deal. They lead with power and love and light touch, and they assume the best of you, and they get the best work out of you. You work overtime for them, right? But the leader who's a bully or an interrogator or a victim or aloof, you're going to do the minimum possible to not incur that. And you're going to know they're not the real deal, and you're going to know the team you're on is not the real deal. Okay? Any team I've been on where that stuff shows up, it's just so ordinary, right? I can go to Starbucks, pay $5 for a cup of coffee, and have somebody, intimidate me. I don't need to be on a team for that, right? I don't need to spend my time and my energy, and I don't need to put my word out in the world for something. If I'm going to get bullied or interrogated or have to deal with a victim or some aloofness, I'm just not going to do that, right? So the other evil is that you start not managing, right, yourself, and you start letting this aloof and bully and all stuff come out. Your best people are going to leave because they're going to see it instantly, and they're going to recognize that you're not the real deal. Okay. Now, I've got a solution, so I'm not just throwing you in the pit here and waving goodbye, right? So I'm going to give you something, which is the answer, which is the antidote to the pitfall of, not knowing where to go, bringing consciousness to your way of being and not letting yourself fall into this energy stealing kind of vibe. By the way, don't get caught up on energy stealing and whether this is true or not, right? This is really valuable if you look at interactions through when people are not good, they're not good and powerful and strong internally, they resort to this kind of stuff, and you can see it everywhere. If you look for it, you'll see it. It's everywhere. Now, if you want to be a leader, if you want to be the real deal, and you want to show up as the real deal, you want people to look at you and go, yeah, I'll follow that person anywhere, right? Create a way of being that inspires you, right? Create a way of being that inspires you and stick with it. Stick to your guns. Stand your ground. Take it seriously. Take it for real. Create a way of being that inspires you, and then practice that way of being like your life depends on it. And by the way, your life does depend on it. The life of abundance and connection, and the life of having a world-class team around you and having loyalty and having your team fight for your success. That's what's at stake. If that's important to you, then yeah, create a way of being that's inspiring to you and stick with it, for real. As by way of example, and not as the right way to do it, okay? By way of example, what I've created, and this is not, you're welcome to take it and steal it, but I'm not offering this part as the right way to do it. I'm just giving you an example of what I've created, right? And what I've created is who I am is contribution. So literally who I am is contribution. That is who I am. Who are you, Kirk? I'm contribution. Okay? And that means something to me, and I gave everything I am to the promise that who I am is contribution. It's underneath it all. Where I look when I make choices and I make decisions in life, where I look when I'm working on something that's actually important to me, where the stakes are high, where I look is, where's the highest contribution? What would contribution do here? It's literally a compass for how I live my life and how I make my choices, and what business initiatives I take on and which ones I decline. What I'm looking for is the opportunity to make the biggest difference I can in the world. So I notice a lot of people talk about the, consciousness is raising on the planet. Yeah, I observe that. I also observe a lot of craziness is going on the planet, and I don't know which is going to win. you know? And so as a matter of my word, who I am is contribution, and I'm out to make the biggest difference I can on the planet. I would love to be someone who actually moves the needle on what's possible for human beings. And I'm just a guy, I'm just a guy with, with a Facebook account right now. So how I tackle that is I go model and practice being a contribution, and I develop a business that gets me into the world. I mostly work in the area of sales and sales management and that sort of thing. Sales management as a service. I like to take over the sales management function for companies, and that's how I bring transformation to the world. I show people a better way. You can sell and you can lead and you can do business from contribution and from an open heart and looking for how to improve people's lot in the world, right? You want to have a successful business, figure out what people want and how to contribute to them and get really good at it. So my strategy for making a difference in the world is be the best coach I possibly can, be the biggest contribution I possibly can, and win, lose, or draw, I'm proud of the body of work that my life is. Okay? So I offer that to you as a fellow leader, like as a peer, like, hey, this is how I do leadership. How do you do leadership? So I notice that I like to follow people who are the real deal, who are what they say they are. They are as advertised. They're not trying to spin everything they say. They're not trying to be everything for everybody. They're who they are. They stand for what they stand for. They don't worry about what they're not worried about, right? And, they practice what they preach. So my suggestion to you is pick a way of being that inspires you, right? I work with people on doing this, by the way, so I could be a resource for that. But whether it's me or someone else or by yourself, invent a way of being, create a way of being that inspires you and stick with it. Learn how to be a master of whatever it is you're up to. I practice being a master of contribution. I do that by coaching and public speaking and consulting and, doing things like this or write books and that sort of thing. You figure out your groove. What's the way of being that inspires you? What are you up to in the world? And stick with it. And when you're not feeling good, when you're not your best, all these things, when you're under duress or you're distracted or anxious or under time pressure, instead of going to the very lazy, common, get it anywhere with, $5, go to Starbucks and get a coffee and you can get somebody to bully you around or interrogate you or be a victim about something or be aloof about something. You don't need to be a part of the special team for that, right? If you want to be a leader, be the relief to that. Be the leader who knows who they are and they stick with it and they practice it. And when you're not feeling your best and you're feeling yourself move towards your strategy, you're the bully or the intimidator or you're the victim, whatever you are, then instead replace that with the way of being that you invented. When I feel myself going dark, right, I want to, mine is I'm aloof followed up by the intimidator. So you'll have a primary strategy and a secondary strategy. So the first thing when I'm not good, right, when I'm not conscious and elevated, not vibrating at a high level, I'm aloof, and if people get past that, they get met with the intimidator. And I can do both real well. So instead of doing that, instead of all of that, right, I simply be the highest contribution that I can be. And how do I know what that is? I don't know. I ask myself, hey, what's the highest contribution here? And then I come up with an answer, and then that's the answer, right? It involves usually things like being responsible for something or apologizing or, whatever, right? It's usually that kind of flavor. So it's not necessarily fun always. It's not necessarily easy. It's always dead simple. Like being true to yourself is always simple, maybe not easy sometimes, right? So I'm getting ready to wind this up. Thank you for those of you who came to take a look. I hope you got something out of it. I do very powerful one-on-one calls, by the way. You can come to kirkmcdowell.com. I believe there's a link in the description. It's my name, kirkmcdowell.com, and you can set up a challenge call just by going to the schedule a conversation button if you'd like to do that. Okay, good. I'm going to wrap it up. Here's the takeaway. Even the most powerful leaders and including you, are not always operating at our best, right? At our highest. When we're not operating at our highest, very reliably, you'll notice that people, including you, tend to either be a bully, the intimidator, the interrogator, the victim, or the aloof. 4 energy stealing strategies, and you do that because you're not feeling good. And then when you make someone else dance, when you make someone else conform to you, it gives you a little, it's like being right. People love being right. There's a physiological, chemical thing to it. People get addicted to being right. People get addicted to stealing each other's energy, right? So instead of being that person, there's no need for it. And instead of being that person, right, you want to create something that inspires you. Being a contribution inspires me. That's why I created it, right? And I created it, by the way, just quick fun fact. I created it about 3 years ago when I was at a high state of duress and major circumstances. And I could feel myself going dark. I mean, dark, scared, anxious, upset, victim-y, the whole thing, right? And I clearly saw for myself that I had a choice. I was either going to go dark or I was going to create something else. Thank goodness, I created something else, and I created being a contribution, and I've been practicing it diligently ever since. It's clunky sometimes, I fail sometimes, fine, but contribution is at the core of who I am, and what you create could be at the core of who you are. So kirkmcdowell.com. Thank you. I want to see you Sunday on the 10th. Description below. Be the one. What one? Be the one that you want to be. Be the person you've been dying to be. Be the powerful leader. It's in you, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All right. Talk to you later. Thanks.